There is a chemical in your brain that was never designed for the world you are living in today. For almost all of human history, our biology was precisely calibrated for scarcity. But in this explainer, we're stepping away from vague, unhelpful concepts like willpower. Instead, we're going to look directly under the hood at the intricate neurochemistry that dictates our modern lives. We're going to uncover the hidden architecture that explains exactly why some choices feel urgent, why some feel incredibly dull, and why some feel literally impossible to ignore.
You see, this chemical dictates almost every single move you make. It's the silent driver standing right behind your deepest habits, your sudden, unexplained urges, and your daily routines. In a world where immediate, on-demand access has completely replaced the slow, deliberate rhythm of survival, this ancient biological mechanism finds itself constantly triggered. It's endlessly searching for something it can never quite catch.
Which brings us to the core mystery of our modern age. If humanity evolved through waiting, effort, uncertainty, and anticipation, what happens when those barriers disappear?
Part 1. The brain's priority signal. Okay, let's dive right into this and completely dismantle a myth you've probably heard 1,000 times.
And that's the widespread belief that dopamine is just the pleasure chemical. It's not. Dopamine is not a happiness meter, and it is certainly not a reward trophy your brain hands out after a job well done. It's actually a motivation chemical. Think of it as the brain's primary priority signal. It's the neurological equivalent of a bright red flare going off in the dark, telling your mind, hey, pay attention to this matters, remember how we got here, and definitely do that again.
I want you to imagine your brain as a hypervigilant shopkeeper in a really bustling, unpredictable market. This shopkeeper doesn't just care about the items they're selling today, they desperately want to know if reality surprised them enough to change what they need to stock on the shelves tomorrow. Dopamine is the mechanism constantly updating that internal bookkeeping. It scans your environment to answer 3 absolutely vital questions. What just mattered? What should I expect next time? And what is worth doing again? This learning happens through a highly elegant biological mechanism called prediction error. Basically, your brain is always generating guesses about the immediate future. If a meal tastes exactly as adequate as you expected it to, your brain learns very little. The ledger balances perfectly. But if there's a positive prediction error, meaning reality was unexpectedly better, richer, or more rewarding than you guessed, your brain updates its internal model strongly. It whispers to you, seek this out again.
Think of dopamine like a highly sensitive compass needle that shifts violently when magnetic conditions change. The needle itself isn't the destination, right? It's merely the adjustment mechanism. It doesn't give you the warmth of actually arriving. Dopamine merely points us toward what it deems significant, compelling the brain to adjust its direction, its focus, and its energy to capture that perceived value.
Part 2. Carving the mental footpath. So, how does this actually translate into the things we do every single day? Well, every time a specific action reliably leads to a rewarding result, the brain simply becomes more efficient at predicting it. Slowly but surely, the mind learns to link environmental cues to inevitable outcomes. It's exactly like walking through a dense field of tall grass. Those first few crossings leave only a faint, temporary trace, but repeated, daily use presses that trace down into a deeply carved, permanent path. A doorbell is not food, it's not money, and it's not pleasure, but after enough repetition, just hearing it creates instant readiness in your body. The sound itself becomes a powerful shortcut to an expectation.
Part 3. Wanting more, liking less. Now, what's really interesting about this next concept is that it flips everything we assume about desire completely upside down. People usually assume that if dopamine levels are high, a person must be enjoying an experience immensely. But the biological reality is actually backward.
The brain can want something with ferocious intensity, even when the actual liking of it is incredibly modest. Consider the intense, agonizing thirst you feel after hours in the hot sun. That biological deficit drives a powerful, all-consuming pursuit for water. Yet, the actual, brief physical enjoyment of swallowing that first sip rarely matches the sheer desperation of the pursuit itself. Dopamine amplifies the wanting. It allows the behavior to feel deeply compelling without ever guaranteeing it will actually feel satisfying.
Part 4. The power of uncertainty. So, let me ask you, what happens when the reward never fully arrives? Well, if a specific outcome is entirely guaranteed, the brain relaxes, the mystery is solved. But when an outcome is highly unpredictable, the learning system stays on hyper-alert. Think of waiting for a delayed reply to a really important message. You can literally feel the physical sensation of the phone resting heavy in your pocket. Your attention keeps getting abruptly pulled back to that phantom vibration, because the brain absolutely hates unresolved patterns. Our learning system is fundamentally built to obsess over the incomplete.
Part 5. Hijacking the reward system. We are now looking at a carefully orchestrated biological heist. We're going to observe exactly how digital platforms deliberately exploit this ancient machinery.
You see, natural rewards have built-in biological limits. A meal eventually ends. A conversation reaches a natural conclusion. Physical exhaustion gives way to rest. But digital triggers are purposefully designed to remove those natural boundaries entirely. You scroll, you receive a micro-reward, and instead of providing satisfaction, the system is engineered from the ground up to make you need more. There is absolutely no closure.
These engineered rewards combine 3 specific properties that optimally interrupt our lives. First, immediate feedback. Second, variable payoffs, meaning you never quite know exactly what image, video, or piece of information is coming next. And third, incredibly low physical and mental effort per attempt. This precise combination keeps your learning system fully engaged, endlessly searching, while permanently denying it the satisfaction of a stopping point.
And this brilliantly illustrates why a reward-rich digital feed can leave a person feeling completely drained, exhausted, and life-poor, despite doing seemingly nothing for hours. A micro-reward sends a clear, repetitive neurological command, keep going. Completion, on the other hand, says, this is done. These hijacked systems successfully maximize the wanting, but they deliberately and carefully minimize the completion. Once this loop is trained enough times, it aggressively compresses into an automatic sequence. Cue, expectation, urge, action. It entirely bypasses your conscious thought to save mental energy. Your habit system isn't pausing to ask, hey, is this the absolute best use of my time right now? It simply asks, what did this cue usually lead to? This is exactly why simply knowing better is never enough when your mental bandwidth is running low.
Part 6. Redesigning your expectations. To step out of this, we first must realize that losing control to these infinite loops is not a moral struggle. It is not a character failure on your part.
Seriously, ask yourself, who taught your brain to need a notification? Your personal phone loop has methodically trained your brain that the glowing rectangle delivers novelty, sudden social relevance, and a brief, temporary relief from effort. It has effectively trained your neurology on fast, uncertain, and infinitely repeated payoffs.
So, the crucial point is this. Dopamine was designed for effort. It was reprogrammed for scrolling. You are not weak. Your biological system was simply optimally targeted to confuse mere salience, something loud, flashing, and immediate, with actual, meaningful value. It's just your machinery doing exactly what it evolved to do, but in the completely wrong environment.
Recognizing this invisible architecture is the vital first step to true freedom from the system. Dopamine was once a vital tool for human survival. Today, it has become the product being sold. But once you clearly understand that your dopamine constantly seeks reward, and that digital design deliberately hijacked that seek, you stop being a passive passenger. You can finally start reading the hidden pattern behind your own urges. It leaves us with a profound question to ponder the next time you feel that sudden, invisible urge to reach into your pocket. If humanity evolved through waiting, effort, uncertainty, and anticipation, what happens when those barriers disappear?